Who are the top 5 strongest One Piece characters of all time at this point in time? Now, spoiler warning for any non-manga readers of One Piece. The anime right now making some huge strides. Episode 1000 is coming out real soon, and that should be damn dope. So you don't want to get spoiled for the upcoming greatness that is One Piece wa. So spoiler warning once again for any non-manga readers. I'm helping you out. Now, listen.
Listen!
Because of Wano Country, I've had to change my top 5 list, I think 2 or 3 times. And I'm going to give you right now my current rendition of what I perceive to be the top 5 strongest characters One Piece of all time. Of all time. I'm going to give it to you straight up right now.
Oh my.
And then I'll go over the reasons why real soon afterwards. But then come the end of the video, I'll give you a certain stipulation change. And then the list will change. So, here right now are the top 5, my personal opinion, the top 5 strongest characters of all time in One Piece. Number 1, Gold D. Roger, the man, the myth, himself. Number 2, Rox D. Sebek. Number 3, Whitebeard. Number 4, Shiki the Golden Lion. And number 5, Red Hair Shanks. These are the top 5 strongest One Piece characters of all time. Now, keep in mind too, this is in their primes. So it's his prime Roger. This is prime Whitebeard. This is prime Shiki, okay? Now we've gotten out of the way. Let's, because I can see it now. I can see it now. The rage, I can taste some salt. But also, for the lads that agree,
yes,
muchas gracias.
Oh!
Now, before you go and dislike the video, which I'm pretty sure Susan still has up at this point in time, I'm pretty sure. Let's get right into the reasons why. So number 1, why is Gold D. Roger number 1? The first key thing here, I think, is ultimately prestige. Even though Whitebeard is deemed the strongest man in the world, I got the Pirate King, honest to God, over the world's strongest man. Having the highest bounty in the series also helps as well. But Roger has that prestige that no one else in the verse can touch. He found the One Piece. He ushered in a great pirate age. His men are world renowned, especially Mayo, Dark King, Rayleigh, who a lot of folks also argue belong to the top 10 strongest of all time. Had unique powers like the voice of all things. Of course, a member of the D-Clan, which you can argue does have some weight to it. You could personally argue. And ultimately speaking, when he was able to achieve such great things while he had a terminal disease. You have to give Roger his dues. When Odin joins the Roger Pirates, we soon find out that he was going to die a year from there. So I personally argue that when Roger and Whitebeard fought, that was not a prime Roger. That was a prime Whitebeard, but not a prime Roger. And they were still going toe for toe, blow for blow. Now you can argue in that fight, in that case, Whitebeard wins in the long term because with a terminal disease, you have probably, I'll definitely bet, you have a lack of stamina. No one comes close to the Pirate King in terms of prestige. And he was that nasty against Whitebeard when he had a terminal disease. Yes, I'm giving Roger the number 1 title. Now, number 2, why is Rox D. Sebek number 2? Ultimately, I'm swayed by chapter 957. I think it's actually very likely that when it came to Roger and Rox, that was his first foe and his greatest foe. I'm willing to bet that, yes. Rox does have this aura of mystique that has so much weight and so much substance to it. And Oda is clearly saving all this up for a particular moment, probably, which may involve Blackbeard. A lot of folks theorize. You can't deny that his aura of mystique is tremendous, where he knew the taboos of the world and was aiming to be king.
Wrong.
Not just Pirate King, king of the world. Most of the Yonko in the series were under his wing at one point in time. Why was he there in God Valley in the first place? And again, this may coincide potentially to Blackbeard and then also maybe Shanks, because Blackbeard and Shanks are 1 year apart in terms of age. And they were both born a few years from the God Valley incident. But you can't deny that when it comes to the weight of Rox D. Sebek, it is absolutely tremendous. But again, as far as we know, keywords right there, he lost the efforts of both Roger and Garp, as far as we know. Now, number 3, why is Whitebeard Eduardo Newgate number 3?
Help me! Help me!
Basically, we've seen the evidence, okay? We've seen the evidence. He fought against Gol de Roja for a period of days, and we see that actually happened in the flashback. Now, again, I argue that's not a prime Roger, given his health at a point in time, but nonetheless, 3 days and 3 nights, biblical style. Very impressive. On top of that, knowing that he was old and sick,
Slow and old.
not to give his body at all, and he required so much at Marineford. All the vice admirals, I think damn near, all the admirals, the Shichibukai, Garp and Sengoku were there, and all Whitebeard, he just rolls on out good. I'm like, he has the evidence, he has the feats. The second highest known bounty in the series, which does matter, obviously. And then also, if you want to use the anime here, he does handle the Chad of Wano. He does handle Oden in the anime. In the manga, it's very different in the manga in terms of the vibe that you get between Oden and Whitebeard. It's very different. But in the anime, he does just flat out beat Oden. That's just a fact. But of course, just keep in mind here that Oden, after his voyage, was several times stronger. Keep that in mind. And then finally, the other Yonko, Big Mom and Kaido, have alluded to Whitebeard's greatness on many fronts. Like Big Mom saying, if I have the giants, then Kaido, Shanks, even Whitebeard. Like, she denotes how, like, it's even Whitebeard would have fallen to me, and I'll compare a king. So it's stuff like that, where Whitebeard seems to always be put, at least in notation, a step above the rest, in many respects. And you have to, arguably, respect that. Now, number 4. Things get a bit weird here. But number 4 is the Golden Lion Shiki. Why? Shiki, a lot of times, is argued to be a canon character or not. Some folks say he is, others say he's not. But there's 2 main things here. Number 1 is that he did share an era, of course, obviously, with Roger and Whitebeard after Rocks. So he was one of the 3 major pirate powers in that era. The second thing is that if we go by Strong World episode or chapter 0, he does 1v2 a Prime Sengoku and a Prime Garp. He 1v2s 2 of the greatest men, if not the greatest men, in Marine history. Now, again, whether or not he's actually a canon character or not, it's up to you. He's actually in the canon story, like legitimately speaking, because in the Oden flashback, we see the Baba, I forgot her name, actually transform into a young Shiki. So Shiki is officially, we see his face officially in both anime and manga. 1. 2, chapter 0, or technically chapter 565.5, is a canon chapter, as far as I understand. But the events of the actual Strong World movie itself are not necessarily canon. In fact, I would say they're not. But most evidence does lean to Shiki being a canon character. What's also important here is that there is a difference between the anime and the manga of Strong World chapter episode 0. Where, and these are scanlations and fan translations, of course. But in the anime translation, they actually kind of imply that during that fight, 2v1, Garp was wounded. In the scanlations of the chapter, that's not there. So it's something that I can't necessarily gauge what is not the case there, but it's not a hill mountain to die on per se. The fact of the matter is that he could actually fight against those 2 until half of Marineford was destroyed. The Golden Lion Shiki. And you have to respect that. You just have to. And then number 5, the last of the top 5, my official list, is Shanks. Why is Shanks number 5? Thing here is this. I no longer think that the old top tiers are that far ahead, if at all ahead, of the current top tiers.
What do you mean by that?
Not yet.
The reason why I'll get to in the bonus after this, but that's the general gist of this. I no longer think that the current top tiers are that far behind, if at all, from the top tiers of old. I used to, why I stopped thinking that way. Now, Shanks, to me, is the Roger of the current era in terms of power. Meaning he is my #1 strongest character in the current era of One Piece. You could clash with Whitebeard or Whitebeard just fine, not a big deal. Marineford has always been a super impressive showcase for Shanks and his crew. When you're gonna kindly sweat buckets, when Blackbeard on a power high is like, you know what? I'm not ready for you, dog. What do you mean? You got 2 powers, dog. Nah. I can't. I'm not ready for Shanks. That is a pivotal statement to him and his boys. Ben Beckman make his not even Shanks, Ben Beckman. He rolled on in with like 9 solid lads, and no one wanted to smoke. And on top of that, he does this after an altercation with Kaido. And I know so many folks want to argue, oh, well, no, like, all they did was share sake cups. I don't give a damn, okay?
I just don't give a...
As far as we know, it was an altercation of some kind between Shanks and Kaido, and on the heels of the altercation, which actually, too, it is mentioned in the data books that King, the Wildfire, was also involved in this altercation, and the red-haired pirates still rolled on through. Nah, we built different. Speaking of that, too, built different, in chapter 957, the ultimate chapter, it is specifically Ben Beckman, Yasopp, and Lucky Roo that are mentioned by name, specifically by name, by Brand New and the Marines. Katakuri, King the Wildfire, Smoothie, Queen, Jack, Cracker, no one cared. No one cared. But Ben Beckman, but Lucky Roo, but Yasopp, they got those boys in their sights.
Behold.
The rare pirates have this aura of built different. It is what it is. I'm sorry. But I'm not sorry. Because Shanks is, I think, that subtly. And then, to back it all up, he's on Kaido's list, yo. Specifically, in the Viz translation, he's denoting to Luffy's ceiling on how high Luffy's ceiling can go. And among the folks he envisions, it is only Shanks who is still alive. Shanks. And keep in mind, the thing that surprised Kaido the most and why he was perceiving Luffy among these people was because Luffy had come back after he had destroyed him and came back stronger. So it was Luffy's growth rate that was so shocking to Kaido. Kaido has experienced a lot of strong dudes across the globe. That sounds sus. But Kaido has experienced a lot of strong individuals across his tenure as a pirate. He's seen Garp and Goku in action. He was captured by Marines several times. And among all of Kaido's experiences, it was those 5 people he chose. Those 5 people. People who I would argue can all beat Kaido in a fight. And once again, amongst the people that Kaido envisions, it's only Shanks who is alive. So now let's do a stipulation. Let's do a change here. I understand that Shiki triggers some cats. So let's take Shiki, throw him to the side. What does the top 5 look like now? So the top 3 are still the same. Number 4 is now Shanks. Number 5 is our good old boy, Yonko Kaido. That's right. Our boy, Kaido, makes the top 5 if Shiki is no longer to be accounted for. The reason why, again, harkens back to what I said prior about Shanks. I believe that the current top tier are not that far behind, if at all, from the previous top tiers of old. There's a few reasons for that. Number 1 is that I believe that come the end of the series, Luffy will be the strongest person in the series, in the history of the series, with maybe 2 exceptions. Number 1, Blackbeard. Blackbeard, I think, will also be stronger than all of the top tiers of old come end of series. I believe that earnestly. Number 2, big if, huge if, Emu. I think it's possible, maybe, that Imu is a Kaguya-like figure in One Piece, but that's a I'm not gonna die on that hill, but I can understand why that could be the case in the future. I could, yes. So Luffy and Blackbeard are going to be testaments to how powerful the current generation are going to be compared to the old generation, which ultimately they will surpass them. And because the story is going to be ending in a few years, this is happening sooner rather than later, which means that Kaido must have a correlative position to the top tiers of old. And in my book, Kaido has always been the number 2 guy behind Shanks, right behind Shanks. And Kaido has done a metric ton in Wano country. He's done so much in Wano. Thinking about how he fought against the Scabbards first. Then afterwards, with Big Mom, ushers in Roof Peace, but is clearly the majority of the focus, takes the majority of the damage from Luffy and the boys. And then, after it's all said and done, goes one-on-one with the newly improved Luffy, beats him, goes down, continues to do more work, fights against Yamato for a period of time one-on-one, and then Luffy, after recovering again, has to fight him again, all the while levitating the entire Onigashima. It's like the dude is putting in so much work. Not only that too, but his clout is still stupendous. Kaido is the strongest land, sea, and air. Now again, I think it's one exception. In this current era, I think that Kaido is number 2 behind Shanks, because Kaido himself has Shanks among these great men, who I could argue all of them would have been Kaido himself. That includes Shanks as well. And I also want to quickly note this too. It is stated in the Ace Light novel, Volume 2, Chapter 3, when they do a comparison of all the Yonko, it is stated that in terms of sheer battle power, in sheer combat, in a one-on-one fight, Kaido was likely the strongest, even compared to Whitebeard. Kaido was likely the strongest, which you do not have to take to the bank, but it denotes how strong Kaido is as an individual. Yes, it does. And then finally, the biggest reason why, and this is the reason why I actually believe that the top tiers of now aren't that far off from the old top tiers. When we actually see Luffy fight against Kaido, and we're seeing them do Clashes of Conquerors hockey, and we're seeing the sky split, and we're seeing people get knocked out, and we're seeing the effects of that, the actual Clash of Conquerors hockey, of them not touching at all when they fight, the Sandy Isles versus the Club of Kaido, dude, that's the exact same thing we saw Whitebeard and Roger did in their Clash of Conquerors hockey. The exact same thing that they're doing, we're seeing now with Luffy and Kaido. If we never saw Luffy and Kaido actually do these things, then I would argue, okay, fine, there's still a gap between them and the old top tiers. But now that we're seeing them do the same thing that Roger and whoever could do, I have to change it. I have to. I can no longer really perceive the current top tiers to be that far behind, if at all. I just can't do it. So, without Shiki, that's my top 5. But with Shiki, put Kaido number 6, Shanks is 5, and Shiki's 4. So, let me know. I know this may get some folks triggered, but I have changed my list, and I'm letting you know why. So, let me know your stance on the subject matter at hand. I'm going to see you cats on the flip side. Be easy, take care, have a nice one.